Choice, your creative superpower. We have the power to manifest as we dedicate attention to our thoughts, but often miss opportunity to achieve the greatest good. Your superpower is waiting to be unleashed to unlock a fuller, more rewarding world for all. Join us every Thursday at noon Mountain Time for Choice, your creative superpower with Zoe Muro. And now, here's Zoe.
Well, folks, welcome to the New Thought Media Network. My name is Zoe Muro, and I am delighted and honored to be your host for Choice, Your Creative Superpower, coming to you from Oakland, California, each Thursday at 12 noon Mountain Time, 11 a.m. Pacific Time. What we do is explore. We explore how wielding your superpower for the greatest good can co-create a most fulfilling life experience. So if you're coming back, it's great to see you here again. If this is your first time, welcome. Thank you for tuning in. As a religious science practitioner with the New Thought Media Network and as a transformational coach, I have a ministry and a mission, respectively. Both are to help people live their lives to the fullest. Today, in episode 71, we'll be exploring the relationship between choice and wisdom. What a great topic wisdom is. Can you make a choice without using wisdom? Well, yeah. I've done it many times, and I suppose it's actually no surprise at all the word regret came into usage around the exact same time as the word wisdom. So apparently, yeah, it can be a problem, or it can be a solution. So what is wisdom? Is it a virtue? Well, Confucius thought so. For Socrates and Plato, as you know, we are a New Thought, ancient wisdom philosophy. For Socrates and Plato, wisdom was one of the four primary virtues, along with courage, moderation, and justice. Right? So wisdom, courage, moderation, and justice. Now, the Oxford Dictionary, of course, has a definition. Let's bring this up. Okay. It says, wisdom is the quality of having experience, knowledge, and good judgment. The quality of being wise. The soundness of an action or a decision with regard to the application of experience, knowledge, and good judgment. Or the body of knowledge and principles that develops within a specified society or period. So you might, we often will talk about the wisdom of the ages, right? Or the wisdom of the Toltec. But what's really important here, is in this second definition, the soundness of an action or a decision with regard to the application of experience, knowledge, and good judgment. Confucius spoke of wisdom as a virtue and saw wisdom as being the result of actively reflecting on what has been learned, as opposed to passively learning and then memorizing facts. In fact, wisdom has actually had a really interesting evolution in its usage. So initially, let me bring this up. Initially, it really started out as being the word for providing advice for daily living. And interestingly, being supportive of the common good. It then added in additional information, becoming knowledgeable through life experience, observation, reflection, and then they added the idea of intuition and continued with the concept of being supportive of the common good. But where do we look at wisdom these days? Nowadays, we tend to think of wisdom as being a key element in decision making and in the judgment process. Okay, we seem to have lost certain aspects of it, if you will, like the idea of being supportive of the common good. But frankly, that is still part of wisdom. Let me see. Oh, hey, Shay. Good to see you. Okay, so let's get that out of there. Now, I'll bet you've heard this one sometime before. With age comes wisdom. Okay. That's an interesting phrase. It's not really an exact quote. There technically should be an ellipsis after that word wisdom, because this is what it really read. This is from Oscar Wilde, the Irish playwright, poet, and author. He said, with age comes wisdom, but sometimes age comes along. Right? That's the actual quote. Let's look at some ways that wisdom can affect our choices. Okay. Okay. Now, not only affect, but benefit our choices. It can do so by guiding you towards a more balanced, ethical, and well-informed decision-making. It can empower you to consider a much broader context into which your choice would fall. And looking at the impact of your choices, not only on yourself, but on others as well, so that we can indeed lead to more thoughtful and beneficial decisions. So whether that is common usage or not, that is definitely the way that wisdom can benefit our choices. But wait, there's more. It can also help us to recognize and understand complexities and nuances. It can help us find constructive solutions to conflicts. Keeping one's ethics and values front and center when making a choice is a big part of that, being concerned for others as well as for oneself. And then working with the experience of one's successes and one's obstacles, because we learn and grow. That promotes adaptability and enhances risk assessment. Okay. Now, there's certain elements here that are really important. Okay. Recognizing and understanding complexities. Okay. Holding on to one's ethics. And then the idea of working with experience. Okay, whether the experience was something that you felt was positive or negative, because we know that every experience we have is in some way, shape, or form either a blessing or a lesson. So, lots of ways in which wisdom can affect our choices. Now, are there ways that our choices can affect our wisdom? Okay, well, conceptually, there are two ways that, excuse me, there are two ways that what we choose can affect our wisdom. Just looking at this from a high level. First, of course, is you have to choose to actually use wisdom and to use it effectively. Okay, meaning if you sit there and you say, you know, my gut's telling me this is not a good idea, but I'm going to do it anyway. That's That's recognizing the wisdom, but not doing anything with it. Okay. So it is both recognizing it and then actually using it effectively. And the second way that we can make choices that will increase our wisdom, since wisdom does not simply come with age, as you probably might have occasionally have noticed. Well, anyway, wisdom, true wisdom, can be an ever evolving part of our life if we work to make it so. All right. So, in other words, wisdom isn't something that just automatically clings to you as you walk through life. You know, like you walk through an experience and somehow wisdom cleaves to you. No, it takes work to make sure that that happens. All right. So, very big, important choice that we get to make. All right. That will significantly influence our wisdom. You know, I remember hearing someone say that they had 6 years experience in a particular discipline. And someone who knew them really well said, you know, actually, what they've got is 1 year's worth of experience and maybe repeated 6 times because the person never really progressed in their abilities beyond that first year. Right? Okay, so how are we going to increase our wisdom? Well, by choosing to acquire new or additional information, right? So it could be something that's completely new to us, different discipline, a different realm of study, whatever it might be. Could be a different culture, etc. And then we need to assimilate that information. Okay. In order for us to get to the point of knowledge, we have to take information and put it into some sort of context. All right. So that's the assimilation that we're talking about. And then we develop and incorporate what we have learned and what we understand. All right. So developing and incorporating our knowledge and our understanding. All right. So to be able to increase our wisdom, there are steps we need to take. But how do we actually go about making choices that enable us to acquire, assimilate, and incorporate information as a source of wisdom? Okay. Let's look into that. So I'm going to start with making a conscious choice to seek out knowledge. Okay. Wisdom is at times enhanced by not going deeper, but by going wider. What do I mean by that? It's not uncommon when we want to understand something that we learn everything about it in a silo. All right. So what I mean by that is we don't really understand how it's affected by and connects with other factors. And if that is your only way of deepening your knowledge, then understand that you could be left with an incomplete and actually a less valuable perspective. So wisdom requires a broader view at times. So choose to expand not only the depth of knowledge, but the breadth as well. I'll give you an example. Now, this is without making any kind of a political statement per se, but let's take the concept of considering that you want to choose a candidate for office. Okay. How do you make an informed, wise decision? How do you make that choice? What's really going to be the right thing? Well, starting with seeking knowledge, right? It would make sense to listen to the speeches and postings from the candidate, any writings they might have, looking at their record and such. But why accept that at face value? All right. Get corroborating information. Check sources. All right, this is really important. I'm going to talk about something a little bit in just a bit called the halo effect. People who subscribe to the idea of the halo effect rarely will check the sources. They simply say, oh, this is someone that I know. I trust them. They must be right. Okay. I don't care if it's someone you like, someone you dislike, someone you trust, someone you mistrust. Check the sources. I can't tell you how many times I've looked at quotes and someone said, oh, and this was said by so-and-so. And then when you dig into it, you find out, no, it wasn't said by that person at all. It was said by 10 people back, and then it got repeated and repeated and repeated. All right. Now, for a quote, I suppose that's not particularly important. But when you're talking about bringing someone into office, yeah, I think it's important. So how did the candidate propose or vote for prospective laws if they were in the political arena? What are the candidates' affiliations, both political and social? Getting a sense of the candidate's personal values and beliefs. These things, just to name a few, would give you a far better understanding and potentially help you to avoid what I mentioned before, the halo effect, or the exact opposite of it, which is called the horn effect, which means either believing anything positive about someone you think highly of, that's the halo, or discounting anything about someone you think poorly of, that's the horn, without actually discerning the accuracy for either. The more that you are open to choosing to discern the truth about anything, the better the chance you can engage critical thinking and consider a wider variety of perspectives. Frank Lloyd Wright had something to say on this. He said, the truth is more important than the facts. The truth is more important than the facts. I love this. I've covered this concept a number of times in many, many talks. People tend to hold on to facts without really searching for the truth. I mean, there are many things that are factual, but they don't necessarily tell us the truth. Okay. Here's another quote. This is from Henry David Thoreau. I really like this one too. It's not what you look at that matters. It's what you see. Okay? It's not what you look at that matters. It's what you see. Very important. So part of what we do in New Thought, when we pray, for example, is we're affirming what we know to be true. Okay. When you have that kind of certainty and that kind of focus, it enables you to see things you might not have seen otherwise. All right. So always remember, whatever you're examining, anything, you have to understand it. Skimming it, that's fine if it's a piece of fiction, but if it's something that is meant to provide a way of understanding another person, yourself, the world, whatever it might be, you want to see, not just look at it. All right. Earlier, I had mentioned personal values. Oftentimes, we are called upon to make a choice. And, sometimes that choice just doesn't feel quite right. That just might be your ethics and principles giving you that nudge, that poke, saying, hey, pay attention to me. The more you choose to seek out different perspectives, different viewpoints from a variety of sources, the better the chances are that your choices can be ethically and morally sound. Now, why do I say that? Well, as an ally for equality and equity, whether we're talking by race, gender as assigned at birth or by choice, sexual orientation, socioeconomic standing, any of these and more, it becomes crucial to choose to find the truth, the reality that each marginalized individual or group has experienced and continues to experience. All I have to do to find what life is truly like for those who are different from me is to list all the ways I am privileged and to recognize how my life has been eased by virtue of those privileges. Because if that's true for me, that means those people who do not have those privileges are not getting those advantages. All right. And speaking of experiences, choosing to reflect on our own life experiences, regardless of whether we view them as positive or negative, is indeed crucial to enhancing your wisdom. It takes time, it takes energy, it takes attention, it takes focus, but boy, is it worthwhile. Sometimes people will try to enhance their wisdom by learning from mentors or advisors. Now, there's a caveat here, all right? As much as that is a completely valid approach, and it ties into the idea of that halo effect again. Just because someone is a mentor or an advisor, that doesn't excuse you from being a discerning individual. I've seen far too many people just give up their critical thinking and just follow the crowd because of someone's presence or someone's charisma. Never stop thinking for yourself. Personally, while I relish being able to absorb information and ideas from a subject matter expert, all right, I mean, that's who you go to for that. I do forego hero worship. All right. Even when people come to work with me as a practitioner or as a coach, my intent is to help them be open to finding their own truth, not accepting what I see as truth for them, but for them to understand their own truth. I like to say that I hold the lamp while my clients do the deep digging. All right. All I'm doing is just illuminating things for them. But they're the ones that are actually going to do the work. They're the ones that are going to find within themselves the answers that they need. Considering how much we interact with one another and all the different types of relationships that we have, choosing to make a concerted effort to resolve conflict and be compassionate is indeed a large part of wisdom. Wise people are often far better at conflict resolution. I said wise people. Maybe I shouldn't even say wise people. Maybe I should say when people use their wisdom. Because quite honestly, whether you have wisdom or not, whether you use it or not, doesn't mean that it always pops up when you need it to. Doesn't mean you always use it when it is there. So when people use their wisdom, they are often far better at conflict resolution. But they're also better at avoiding conflicts in the first place. Okay? Not by forgetting about their values or their boundaries, but through what I call the 5 C's. That's the letter C, not SEAS. And that would be, and this is in alphabetic order: collaboration, compassion, compromise, consensus, and cooperation. All right? Collaboration, compassion, compromise, consensus, and cooperation. I should have had a slide for that. You know what? I wonder, maybe I could just put this into the chat. Let's try this. Bum, 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 bum. There we go. Collaboration, compassion, compromise, consensus, and cooperation. Oh, forgot to put up my banner. Yes, this is indeed episode 71, Choice and Wisdom. Okay. Where am I? So last week, we spoke about adaptability. All right? And that is most certainly applicable to wisdom. The more adaptable you are, excuse me, the more adaptable you are, the greater your opportunities to see different perspectives, to be open to alternatives, and the less likely you are to fall into the trap of making perfect the enemy of good. So I'm going to give you one more quote today. This is from the poet Khalil Gibran. And he said, "A little knowledge that acts is worth infinitely more than much knowledge that is idle." A little knowledge that acts is worth infinitely more than much knowledge that is idle. Wisdom isn't some trophy that we acquire and then we proudly display it on our desk or our mantle for all to admire. No, it can be a tool for living and living well, not just for ourselves, but for all others as well. It's your choice. Well, that's it for this week, folks. So, what's on your mind regarding choice and wisdom? Do you have a topic relating to choice that you'd like to suggest for a future episode? I would love to hear that. Would you like to have a counseling, a coaching, or a prayer session with me? For any of these, I would suggest that you use this email address, zodemuro@gmail.com. All right. That can get to me directly. And anything that you say to me, I always hold in complete confidence, always. Well, it was great to spend time with you this week. Let me just see what's going on here. Oh, Shay, there shall be no worship. Thank you. And I do occasionally utilize my wisdom. It's true. Thank you so much. Let me see. Where do I want to go here? Yeah. Okay. So thank you for spending this time with me. Do yourself a favor. Give yourself a gift. Look around ntmedia.org. There is so much going on. Today, for example, a typical Thursday, all right? Reverend Gina Calvario Krupka at 1 p.m. Mountain Time presents The Joy is in the Journey. 2 p.m. Mountain Time, Ken Ludwig provides the Vibrant Living Hour. 4 p.m. Mountain Time, Reverend Brock Ford presents the Spiritual Toolkit. Okay. Over 40 hours of programming each and every week, and we are growing. But to do this, to be able to bring the joy of new thought to the widest audience possible, requires time, it requires talent, and yes, it requires treasure. So if you can go to ntmedia.org/donate, you could actually help us make this a world that works for everyone. So I look forward to seeing you again next week. Until we meet again, choose wisely, much love, and many, many blessings. Namaste.
Choice, your creative superpower. We have the power to manifest as we dedicate attention to our thoughts, but often miss opportunity to achieve the greatest good. Your superpower is waiting to be unleashed to unlock a fuller, more rewarding world for all. Join us every Thursday at noon Mountain Time for Choice, your creative superpower with Muro.